Hey everybody, let's move on to chapter 3, The Magician. We found Gordon hiding in the parking lot outside of the powwow and assured him that the moccasin incident had just been a joke to pay him back for all his complaining. No one was really chasing him and it was safe to come out. Aunt Jennifer and Uncle Ivan must have been feeling a little guilty because they promised the three of us that we could spend the entire next day at the water park. That cheered Gordon up and we could hardly wait for morning. The Wild West Water Park featured water slides, wave pools, inner tube rides, and the world's biggest body slide. There's nothing educational here, that's for sure, said Gordon the next morning as we waited outside the gates for the water park to open. Gordon, Paulo, and I ran through the park trying every single slide, pool, and attraction that the Wild West Water Park had to offer. We were not disappointed. We spent 6 nonstop hours in 100% pure pleasure, and we happily agreed that we didn't learn a thing. We changed into dry clothes at the end of the day and headed to the parking lot to wait for Aunt Jennifer and Uncle Ivan to pick us up. As we passed a building with a long lineup on our way out of the park, Paulo said, "Here's something we missed. We didn't go into that building." "I wonder what everyone is lined up to see," I added. Gordon spotted the sign over the doorway. "Magic show," he read. "Well, after that stupid trick yesterday with those fake moccasins, I've decided that I hate magic. It's all fake anyway. Let's get out of here." "Wait, Gordon," I said. "Listen, your aunt and uncle won't be here for almost an hour. Why wait in a hot parking lot while we can sit in an air-conditioned building and see the show?" "Yeah," agreed Paulo. "Besides, it was a great water park, so I'll bet this show was pretty good too." "All right, I'll go, but don't expect me to enjoy it," grumbled Gordon. We were the last ones in line, and when we entered the building, the only seats left were in the front row, where we had to strain our necks to look straight up at the tall stage. Soon the theater lights dimmed, and a single beam of light came over the stage, revealing a magician standing in the center. "Welcome," boomed the deep voice. "I am Alakazam the Great. Prepare to be amazed." The magician took off his hat and bowed deeply to the audience. "Abracadabra," he yelled, and a white rabbit appeared suddenly on top of his head. He hadn't pulled it out of his hat like magicians usually do. I had to admit, this guy was good. By the look on Paulo's face, he was as surprised as I was. Only Gordon failed to be amused or impressed. "That's fake," yelled Gordon. The magician shot Gordon an angry look, but continued with his magic show. "I will now disappear before your very eyes," said Alakazam the Great. There was a loud bang, followed by a large puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, the magician was gone. The audience clapped and cheered, all except Gordon. There was another loud bang and a puff of smoke, and the magician reappeared. Everyone clapped and cheered again. "There's a trap door in the floor," shouted Gordon. The magician leered at Gordon. "Gordon, stop it," I hissed. "You're going to get us thrown out." "Yeah," whispered Paulo. "Shut up or we'll all get in trouble." "I don't care. I hate magicians," replied Gordon. "They can't fool me. I know all their tricks." Every time the magician performed a trick, Gordon would yell out how the trick was done. I could tell that the magician was getting angry, and I expected to be thrown out of the theater by security guards any second. As soon as he was nearing the end of the show, the magician gave Gordon a sinister-looking smile and said, "And now for my last trick. I will need a volunteer from the audience." About 200 hands flew into the air, including mine and Paulo's. Gordon did not raise his hand. "I will give $20 to the person who can stuff this entire handkerchief into his or her mouth while blindfolded," the magician announced, holding up a large red silk handkerchief. Suddenly, Gordon raised his hand. "I could use $20, he said, forgetting that he hated magicians and magic shows. "Ah, how about this young man?" he said, pointing to Gordon. It was more like a command than a question. "Come up on stage," ordered the magician, pointing to the stairs at the side of the stage. The audience cheered and clapped as Gordon got out of his seat and climbed on stage. "This isn't fair," complained Paulo. "Gordon practically ruins this guy's magic show, and he gets to go up on stage and win $20. On stage, the magician was asking Gordon his name. "Gordon Smith," said Gordon in a loud, confident voice. "Well, Gordon," said the magician, holding up the red handkerchief, "do you think you can fit this entire handkerchief in your mouth for $20? "I'm pretty sure your mouth is big enough." The audience laughed. "I know I can," bragged Gordon, ignoring the magician's insults. "This is the easiest $20 I've ever made. We shall see about that," said the magician mysteriously. He grinned at the audience. The magician tied a blindfold around Gordon's eyes. Once he was sure Gordon couldn't see anything, he held and held up the red handkerchief for the audience once again, and then it happened. The magician quickly put the handkerchief in his front pocket and reached around to his back pocket and produced a pair of red silk underwear. The audience gasped and laughed. Gordon mistook this cheering, and he smiled and waved at the crowd. The magician handed the red underwear to Gordon, who immediately began cramming them into his mouth. The audience roared with laughter at the sight of a kid stuffing underwear into his mouth. His cheeks bulged, but he managed to get the whole pair into his mouth. The audience went wild with laughter and applause. Gordon took a bow before taking what he thought was just a handkerchief out of his mouth. The magician took the underwear from Gordon and held them up one last time before putting them in his back pocket. Then quickly pulled out the real handkerchief from his front pocket. He untied Gordon's blindfold and handed him a $20 bill that he produced out of thin air. The audience broke into thunderous applause. "See," said Gordon as he returned to his seat, "nothing to it, and I'm $20 richer." I glanced at Paulo. Should we tell Gordon the truth or let him enjoy his money? Then I got an idea. "Gordon," I said, "I know something about that trick that you don't know." "What?" he asked. "It'll cost you," I said. "What do you mean?" "It was just a dare. That magician didn't think I could fit that whole handkerchief into my mouth, and I did. That's not even a real trick. For $10, I'll tell you what really happened. If you want to know," I suggested mysteriously. "Nothing happened," said Gordon defensively. "You're just trying to get my money." He didn't sound completely sure of himself, though. "Ask Paulo if you don't believe me," I said. "It's true," agreed Paulo. "Something happened on that stage that made you look like a fool, but it will cost you $10 to get me to tell you." "What?" yelled Gordon. If I pay both of you guys $10, that will leave me with exactly nothing." "I guess you'll never know what really happened on the stage then," I said, and Gordon never did find out the truth. And that ends chapter 3, everybody. We'll see you again for chapter 4 in a few days.